All right, today we have a Nikon F2SB, I believe this model is called, and they name those last two letters based on what finder is on it. This has a DP3 finder, which is different than probably the more common DP1, and sometimes they'll say F2 and there's a letter A right here, or there's an AS. This one isn't that. This is considered an SB, and this one, it uses these ears on the lens to index the exposure system. Now, the older cameras, the older Nikons, you would have to put the camera on 5.6 to mount the lens. This one, you can have it anywhere, but what you do is once you mount it, you just run it from wide aperture to small aperture, and that engages the pin. That's the way you work with this camera. I don't know that there are all of the I'm not sure which models actually have that, where you just run the aperture open and close and it'll grab it. But like an FT or an FTB, not an FTB, an FTN, you would have to put it on 5.6 to mount it. I have noticed that when I put this on 5.6 to unmount it, sometimes it's a little tricky to get off. Like it doesn't seem to want to come off. I have to play with it a little bit. But to put it on, it can be on any aperture, and then you just push it from wide to small aperture, and then actually engages itself. So that's the Nikon F2. This camera I just loaded film in because I just picked it up, and it was a steal for $70, and it's one of those things that to buy, this camera went to Vietnam. This camera was photographing in Woodstock. This is the kind of camera that with a 51.4, you can use it as a weapon as well as a great camera to photograph your family and friends and events, and it's going to last for a long, long time yet. This one looks like it's never been used. It has, it's really clean, it's a black version. You know, for the price it was like a steal. It's like one of those things that, you know, it's difficult not to buy a camera like this when you see it, knowing that this was a several $100 camera, and now it's being unloaded for next to nothing. This will be good for when I teach. This is one of the cameras that I give to a student who will say, oh my God, that thing weighs so much. But it's one of those things that they'll really respect and they really can't hurt. So, a couple of things to check for, as always. Check the shutter speeds. That's the first thing I did. Here's a thousandths of a second. Actually, it's on lock. This little button here has a lock L indicator, so you put it in the center and it works. Oh, I can't shoot it because it's got film in it. I just loaded film in it, so I can't actually shoot it. I'm going to put it back on lock so I don't waste it. It has a prism that removes, you can pop that off. This lever here, if you push that forward, backward, and then press this little button, that releases, if I can get it to go, it did earlier. There it goes. And then this little button in the back, this silver one, if you press that together, it pops the finder off. And you can change finders. And see, if you got another finder that didn't have this metering system, you still have the shutter speeds right here. I think this looks really cool with a really small prism without a meter, but those are really expensive. I've looked those up. I'd love to find one, but they're really expensive. So I'll just stick with this because it didn't cost much. When you push this back on, you just gently press it on, make it a firm press, and then it grabs on. And then you have to turn this a few times to kind of like make sure you catch the right shutter speed. It has a little pin in there that actually grabs so that it's lined up with the right shutter speed. It has a self timer, it has a depth of field preview button, it's got a PC terminal so you can use it with Studio Flash. It doesn't have a hot shoe. It has this little space over here that you could put this adapter on and put your hot shoe right here. But again, I'm not a flash guy, so I'll never use that. I looked inside the camera. It's extremely clean inside. The shutter speeds all worked at different shutter speeds. You can tell it's a well-made camera. It has double rails next to where the film goes, so it's like built for just kind of like a extra high quality. You can tell there's a lot of detail put into making this their pro camera. It has just like another camera I talked about, the FA, it has a little way to shut off the viewfinder with a flag so that if you're shooting without being next to the camera, you can block off light coming in from the back that might be stray light. Again, it's really clean inside. This camera is very heavy. If you want a camera that you feel like you can guarantee it's going to keep working and it's not something that's fragile, this is it. But it's not lightweight. It came with this fat strap. That's going to be good because it's going to weigh a lot. But at the same time, you know you've got something quality on your shoulder, and it's a camera that you can really take anywhere. You can leave it in your car. It's not going to break down because you neglected it inside your car while you went shopping and it got a little warm out. It's the kind of camera that is going to keep working. The metering in here is all electronic, and in the viewfinder you can see both the shutter speed and aperture and a 0 plus minus symbol. It tells you whether you're at the right exposure. That's all dependent on the battery that's in the camera, so the battery in the camera feeds that. It uses typical A76 batteries. It doesn't use any mercury batteries, so it's not a challenge to get batteries for it. And again, if you can find one, it's a tank, but it's not going to break down anytime soon. You can guarantee it's going to last. I like them a lot. I like them because they're so rugged. They are heavy, and if you're looking for something to throw in your purse, it's probably not the right one. If you're looking for something that you want to believe in as far as durability, I think they took this to the moon. You probably can too. All right, that's the Nikon F2. This one's the SB. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button on top or wherever that is, and I hope these are informative for you. I love talking cameras. I'll talk to you next time. See you soon.